probably well aware that there's something of a crisis going on in education, and it stems from the fact that the world these days is so engaging. There's video games, social media, TV with flashy images all the time. And part of the result, one result, is that students go to class where they're just listening to their boring old teachers, and they kind of wish or expect that they could all be as exciting and engaging as Bill Nye. Meanwhile, for the teacher's part, they're probably thinking what they really need is to be as effective as Anne Sullivan. Of course, you recall, is the famous teacher of the deaf and blind, Helen Keller. Well, I read an article recently which proposed another solution to this whole situation. I thought it was very good. It claims that the solution is that the new buzzword in education should be this: self-motivation. We should teach students to take charge of their own education and be excited about it. I used to experience this. I taught college for a dozen years down here nearby, and the first week my students would generally come in, and many of them, most of them, would have kind of the attitude like, what's the least amount of work I can do to get an A? And usually within 1 week, I would have transformed this. It was great, to where they'd come and we'd have these engaging conversations, and they were interested in learning because it was fun. And that's the way the gospel should be, right? And now we're all students, where the burden of learning, we're responsible for our own learning. That's the theme of this first week, right? And so how do you do that? How do you become self-motivated? It turns out motivation is actually a fairly simple thing. First, let me tell you what it's not. Also, by the way, I'm making an entire course of this for the University of Life, so I'll throw a link to that article I mentioned and that over there in the comments for you if you're interested. Motivation is not willpower. Now, willpower is a very important skill to have, because in life there will be many things that are not appealing, but you still have to get them done. And so it's an important part of maturity to be able to just get them done. But it's not motivation. What motivation really is, the way I define it, I think a more helpful way, is it's attraction. It's when you feel drawn to do something. You want to, you have a hunger for it, and it kind of overcomes your resistance or your desire to do other things. So if you tip the balance that way, the motivation equation I call it, then you act and you get things done. So how do you spark that? How do you create that desire, that attraction to really want to study these scriptures, maybe discuss them with your family or others, prepare for when you discuss them in a week or two in Sunday school? There are two ways that I can think of, which I think are two of the best ways. And the first way may actually begin with willpower, just getting it done. Even if it feels like busy work at first, you may have a good experience, and success breeds success. So if you have a positive experience, you'll begin to just develop a hunger and thirst to have that experience again, and notice that it brings some peace and joy and some clarity, some answers, some lightness to your life. It converts you into a more happy, loving, positive, spiritually powerful person, and that's a big plus. And if you just get started, and here's another secret of motivation, the best way to feel like doing things is to start doing them. And once you get past that point, a lot of times it's quite rewarding. So there's method number one. The method number two is that you can help other people to feel motivated, and you can use them to help you by relating their positive experiences. One of my favorite lessons I ever taught in Elders Quorum was one day I walked up to the front of the room and I set down a box of a dozen donuts and opened it up, took one out and just took a bite. Oh, this is good. And I asked for volunteers. And of course, every hand in the room shot up, and I called on my co-teacher. We alternated teaching together. And we just sat there and just ate those donuts in front of everybody. And the point was that if you can get that light of the Holy Ghost shining in your eyes, that divine spark, other people will notice it, and it will whet their appetite. It will make them want some more of the same thing. So I'm going to ask a favor of you. If you have some positive experiences with different verses that we're reading, will you just make some comments? You can type them out, you record a video if you want, anything you want. Just share some of your experiences of what touched you and what you learned. Just like in Sunday school, I mean, that's what this whole Facebook group is for, right? Is to add some of these conversations for people who maybe don't have groups they can talk with, or who just want more of it during the week. And when you can check in anytime and contribute and find out some of these things. So thank you for participating here at jclds.net. We'll see you next time.